YouTube, this is Periscope, and this is Facebook. Now I can't get you all in, so
no, that's okay.
So we'll do the best we can.
We'll do the best.
Now, this is a serious Periscope peep.
Yes.
Now, how will they recognise? Do you have a comment on it?
I think, yeah, I comment. I definitely comment. I think I'm just Jenna Pedoni.
Jenna.
Jennapedone. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
And now this is interesting because you're a pharmacist.
I am a pharmacist.
Now, how long does it take to train to be a pharmacist?
It took me 5 years, but now it's mandatory 6. So
Okay.
I went into the school in the 90s, and that was standard. I loved chemistry, so I actually was working in a pharmacy. I thought I was going to do some sort of like environmental chemistry or some sort of chemical engineering, and the pharmacist that was working with me said, "Why don't you become a pharmacist?" And I said, "Why? There's no chemistry in it." And he said, "It's all chemistry." So I said, "All right, sure, I'll look." I liked working with people, and I said, "Sure, great." So went to pharmacy school, got all my pharmacy vaccines, and growing up, I had a lazy eye, and I was always told my dad had one that turned out and mine always turned in, and I was always told, "Oh, it's genetic, that's genetic."
Everything's genetic.
And so, I got all my vaccines to go to my pharmacy rotations, and funny, after those, I got acne that I'd never had. It was like a rash across my forehead, like weird red acne that I had. Started getting like seasonal allergies, things like that. And then worked in a pharmacy. Back when I worked retail pharmacy for a few years, and we didn't vaccinate at that point. Pharmacists didn't do that. We just filled prescriptions, and that was sort of. But I always just was like, vaccines. I had no concept of should I question them. I was like,
what did they tell you at school when you were training?
All we learned was here's the vaccine schedule, and vaccines. Cured polio, cured smallpox, like the standard. That's all you learned. So I just thought, okay, perfect. Like I'm, even when they asked me to get them all for my pharmacy school rotations, I was like, oh yeah, if you need me to get Hep B, fine, or you want me to get this, and so
you've had a lot of vaccines.
A lot, and then I realized I looked at my records for this. I had so many flu shots that I realized.
Are those your vaccine records?
Yeah. Well, this is only for like the last 10 years that I was in like a certain health system. So I don't even have my childhood ones on here. It was like a flurry, all these flu ones, and I looked at the dates, and I'm like, I realized I had the flu shot with all of them when I was pregnant. I had no idea they would.
You were vaccinated when you were pregnant.
Yeah, and she was 04, and 04, 05, 06, and 09. And
do you have any boys?
No, I have 4 girls, and the one, they were all vaccinated at the very end, kind of the very last trimester in the last 2 months, and I got the flu shot when she was only about 6 weeks along, and she was probably my most affected. So. But I just put that together recently this week. So yeah, I never thought to question. So many things that I always was just told are normal. Like I'm friends with the girl who mentioned who was here earlier with the kid with diabetes, and I used to work for Lilly.
You worked for Eli Lilly?
I did for about 10 years, and I sold their insulin, and we were always told, oh, it's, you never, we don't know the cause, and, I used to walk I did a marathon for diabetes research, and used to.
Where did you work? Which
I was a sales rep, so I would go, and I just would go around to offices and explain to them how great insulin is and how it's going to save all these children. And
so in the film Vaxxed, you've seen Vaxxed?
Yeah.
There's a boy in the B-roll, which is the story's not about this boy, but there's a boy in there who's very severely affected, wears the headphones, rocks. His dad is international director of ethics for Eli Lilly.
Oh, no way.
And that's his
Brian?
son. That's his son.
No, not Brian.
Engine Nick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, just saying.
Yeah, just saying. So, I left Lilly and I worked at Target for a little bit back about 6 years ago, and they wanted us to start vaccinating, and I had to go through this whole training class. We started to learn how to give vaccines. Again, all they showed us was the vaccine schedule. I had to memorize the vaccine schedule, and I had to take a test showing, like, if a 12-year-old girl comes in, which vaccines am I recommending? If an elderly person that's going to travel, which vaccines am I recommending? But there could be a side effect. I never heard about VAERS. So Vaxxed really opened my eyes, because I just didn't know. I didn't know there was a law in the books that you couldn't sue that. I just assumed, well, they must be safe, because if the FDA approves them, or if the CDC allows them, like, they absolutely must be safe. So, thank God, through the grace of God, I only worked for Target for a few short months, and I didn't have to vaccinate anybody because it was kind of a new program we were implementing. So I didn't have to do that. And then I started working for this really small nutraceutical company, and I sell a probiotic, like a really high potency probiotic. So it introduced me.
So now you're a good pharmacist.
I'm a good pharmacist, yeah. But I mean, really, through the grace of God, that happened because I started calling on integrative medicine doctors, people that would be willing to use probiotics. I mean, sure, there's gastroenterologists who just say, oh, we don't know why people get all these GI diseases. But it was one integrative nurse practitioner who said to me, you should never get the flu shot. And I was like, why? It's so great. Like, it prevents the flu and you don't get sick. And she's like, no, you do not want to get the flu shot. So I told my husband, okay, we're not going to get the flu shot anymore. We'll do natural things. And that kind of started my journey to open my mind enough. And then a naturopathic doctor in New Hampshire said to me, you have to come to this forum. And so it was Tatiana Obagawa, that, Harvard PhD.
Lovely Tatiana.
She did a whole thing on, she gave her typical talk of, okay, here's the immune system, what it does. And I'm standing at the back, and I was a vendor there too. I was listening, but I was also there with my probiotic, and I was standing next to the lady who runs New Hampshire Vaccine Choice. And I remember thinking, like, she's kind of crazy. Like, why? Vaccines are great. I still wasn't fully aware. And as I'm listening to Tatiana talk, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, God did everything right. Like, we don't need any of these medicines and any of these things. And I'm like, my poor children, like, I can't. And I just went home from that and like called all my sisters. I'm one of 7, and I'm like, okay, well, none of us are vaccinating
anymore. Are they
anymore.
also medically trained?
I have 2 sisters that are nurses that are horrified. They look back at their, like, they got mono, they've had thyroid disorder, skin reaction. One of my sisters has these horrible things on her hands where it's like always her hands are rough and raw. And one sister is able to get out of the flu shot at work. The other one just cannot. They've been told, like, you'll lose your job. And so she's working really hard to be able to, like, get out of that job. But yeah, so I've converted everybody. One of my sisters is in medical device sales. So yes, everybody's on board. They know no more vaccines. But so kind of the story with the children is,
by the way, you have the most beautiful daughters.
Oh, thank
I mean, all of you are absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
I can see inside and out beauty shining from all 4 of you. How lovely. And I was one of 4 girls, and it's so much fun.
What number were you?
And I was the eldest girl. I am in charge.
Yes.
Me in charge.
That's why you do so well what you do. So with that, I have Courtney's my first. I didn't know, obviously I had the flu shot. She gets the vitamin K, the Hep B, and she was doing fine nursing at the hospital. My older 3 got the Hep B the day they left the hospital, whereas my youngest got it right after birth. We'll talk about that. But Courtney getting it, after she got it, and then they sent us home. She had a lot of trouble nursing. It caused her to she couldn't suckle as well as before. So, we go in for like the week follow-up, and they're like, oh, it's your fault. Like, you're not doing things right. Your milk's not coming in. But, looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what if we just hadn't given her the Hep B or the vitamin K? Like, I think so many parents that I know that say, I can't nurse. I was never able to nurse. I'm like, it's the vaccines. Like, stop. Like, give those parents a chance. So she ends up with jaundice. And then, I did the 2 months, the 4 months. She got like bumps. She had these bumps, rash all over the back of her arms. She used to get like a whooping cough type thing almost multiple times. She had just these horrible coughs that would like barking that would go on for months. And the doctors were like, I don't know, like, it's nothing, just
so they didn't
deal with it.
Give her loads of antibiotics?
Oh, she had loads of it. She had ear infection after ear infection.
Oh, there you go.
She almost needed tubes, but I kind of was like, I don't want tube. Like, something told me, like, don't go and get that. But she also, her eye went lazy at after her 4 month shots, and I remember
look at me, beautiful,
it's
beautiful, beautiful.
But following Dr. Andrew Molden's information and his studies, it's like, wow, that's a stroke. And I didn't know. I just thought, oh, it's genetic like me. But then it reversed, and then after her 6 month shot, it did it again for about a week, and then it reversed. So I thought, okay, I'm out of the woods. Like, she's fine. But so then she ended up with hearing loss after her 2-year vaccines. We went in for her 4-year ones, and they said, oh, she has she can't hear out of both ears, a slight hearing loss. And again, I thought it was genetic because 2 of my sisters growing up had the same thing. But they did an MRI, a CAT scan, X-rays, all this. There's nothing anatomically wrong with her ears. it's something inside. So, you know, in the research I've done, it looks like, I mean, it could be from vaccines. So,
Of course.
So she wears 2 now, and, you know, she manages, which is so, I mean, again, wonderful that she can still hear, but, you know, it affects her speech and that. And then she used to always get swimmer's ear. Like when younger, when we were back when she was in that realm of vaccinating, she would get swimmer's ear every summer, at least once or twice a summer. And now that we don't vaccinate, it's like she
What's
never
the
gets
last
it.
vaccine that you had?
Probably your 4-year-old ones.
Okay, so you haven't had HPV or anything?
No.
Thank God you got
God.
saved.
I know.
Before.
Seriously,
I
you
can't
guys
even.
saved me. Thank you, Vaxxed, for making me
HPV
aware
on
of
these
4
beautiful
girls. I
babies.
know, and they're all like that typical type of like good in school, sports. They would be the ones.
And their ovaries are shutting down. That's if they survive. Have you seen the board
I
behind
have, but
us?
it's terrible.
Heartbreaking.
It is. So then Taya was born 16.
Taya!
Taya was born 18
go
months
over to
later.
Taya.
Yep. No, you guys are 16 months apart. So she was born again. I was
Nice
vaccinated.
age. I love short. So into that.
It's amazing. It's the best.
People don't realise. They think it's hard work. It's
No, no,
not.
no.
It's so much less hard work.
Because now they're buddies. They're
Yeah,
like
and they
super
just go and
best
play.
friends.
They can chill out. I
Right.
know, I get it.
But so Taya, she was the one that I got the flu shot like very early on in the pregnancy with her, and she came out. The cord was wrapped twice, so they rushed her to the NICU, and she was fine. But she ended up, she got her lazy eye at about after the 6-month shots, but it stayed, and she on her baby well check charts, her head went from like, it was about 50th percentile all the time, and then after that it was over the 100th. And I was like, what's with that? Oh, that's normal, that's fine, like some babies do that. And you know, everything else stayed fine and charted the same, but I was like, well, that's kind of weird. But again, I never put 2 and 2 together with the vaccines. She ended up with you know, she kind of had that baby acne all over her face.
Yeah.
And then it really, and I just thought it was normal for her. She cried a lot. Courtney was a great baby and never cried, so I was kind of like, why is Taya so fussy? And never correlated it to her vaccines. And she took forever to like roll over. She was like 9 months before she could even attempt to roll. And I just thought, oh, she's just lazy, you know, she's just a chilled out kid. And that's what they would say, like, oh, it's her personality, she's laid back. And then it took her, you know, like 14 months to even walk, and like a while to crawl. So, so she ended up with eye surgery. They did eye muscle surgery for her at about 1.5 years, and it corrected a little bit, but she needed her glasses. So that's, again, something I always thought was, oh, you just got it because mom had it. You know, it wouldn't be any other reason. So I'm happy to be woken up to that.
Yeah.
And then she just went into 6th grade, and they said, oh, she needs her DTaP and meningitis. And I said, no, absolutely not. And even with her, when I was still kind of waking up, I hadn't seen Vaxxed yet, and I said, we went in and they wanted her to get the meningitis, and I was like, that's, from being a pharmacist, I'm like, that's for people when they go to college. Why do you need her to get it now? And the doctor says, well, that's what they do now. The CDC says we should get one at 12 and with the DTaP, and then get one again before college. I said, no. I said, I'm researching vaccines. We're not going to do it today. And they're like, oh, no, it's totally safe. It's fine. But we left. We didn't do it. And then Tori was born 18 months later.
Tori, cameras on Tori.
Yeah.
There we go.
She kind of typically vitamin K, jaundice the day we left the hospital. Hep B the day we left the hospital. So she ended up jaundice at birth. Kind of same thing, dots on her skin, ear infections, antibiotics. For her, mostly it just made her, she had this anger, and with like now we've done trying to do some natural detoxing with cilantro and different shakes and stuff, and she's gotten so much more relaxed and better. But you know, she wasn't too bad affected. And then little Ryan was 2 years later, and so when she came out, she was almost 2 weeks overdue. They had to induce me, and when they delivered, my placenta they said it was chorioamnionitis, where it's like, they said there's a spot on the placenta that looked like it had been used for too long or something. So they gave Ryan the vitamin K and the Hep B like a half an hour after birth. And within an hour of that, they transferred us. So we had to transfer from the labor room to the other room, and she stopped breathing. And they said she stopped breathing for over a minute. And they said, well, that's not normal. It's probably because of that thing with your placenta and the fact that your placenta was old. So we're going to have to do a spinal tap. They rushed her to the NICU. They did a spinal tap, a blood culture. They, pricked her foot, checked for something, and it ended up, she was fine. The blood didn't culture anything. It took a week to get the results back. So they're like, as a precaution, we're going to give her IV antibiotics in the hospital. And I'm thinking, oh, what a good hospital. Like, you're going to give her, prophylaxis. Like, that's so wonderful. So she had 2 antibiotics for a week. And she was a moose. She was almost 9 pounds next to these little preemies in the NICU. But she nursed fine. She did all that. She smiled at like a couple days old at my husband. She was just a doll of a baby. But again, she became like very fussy as a child. And so basically with her almost dying from the Hep B and stopping breathing, never crossed my mind to say, I didn't even know they vaccinated her. They just, when you sign in, you're just signing routine treatment. I didn't know to say like, oh, maybe I should check to see what you're giving my child. But same thing with the other kids. She was, on and off of antibiotics with ear infections. And because I was the good mom, I took them at every well visit and, made sure they got all their things. And now, basically from she's always been much more gassy, much more, I think, from her. She had a nice vaginal birth, but, then you go on IV antibiotics for 2 weeks. It really messes up your flora. So it's okay. Don't be embarrassed that I said that.
I love that you're all wearing Peeps shirts.
Yeah, we got like the last small ones. They're all like extra.
We're out of small already, Rich. Do you hear that, Rich Trolloc? We need more small.
I know.
We're in an area where everyone just wants small.
We're tiny. I know.
Yeah, but they look great. Can you turn them around? Can I see the backs of you?
See Peeps.
Look at that, Peeps. So Peeps. Yeah. So you do realise what that means, don't you? It means that there's going to be other people in Peeps shirts that are going to come up and give you big hugs.
Yes.
And high fives for Peeps.
Yeah.
You're now protected because you are a Peep.
We love it. Yeah. And so Courtney at her school, she had to do like a project last year, some sort of science, come up with something related to science and prove it. So she's like, I think I want to, I don't know, should I do vaccines? I'm like, yes, I will help you.
Good luck with that.
And her teacher was wonderful. Like, really? Super excited, said, I can't wait to hear it. Gave her 100 on it.
Really?
Whereas Tori had to do a project for school. She was in 4th grade at the time. And her teacher, the night of it, and her teacher had been fine that she did it. She did all this amazing research. But we go in and the teacher says, oh, I'm not going to let her present because she plagiarized something. And I said, well, why didn't you talk about that during the day? And the teacher said, well, she copied. I just didn't have time. We were super busy. I didn't have time to tell her. And I said, you know how bright Tori is. If you had told her, she would have just put quotes around it and cited who said it. And so I knew it was total censorship of her not being able, they didn't let her present for anything. And then they did this other little thing with the kids that said, what are things from the 20th century that have been amazing, discoveries? And so what someone else talked about, vaccines, and I was like just fuming. And I said to the teacher after, I was like, I feel like you're censoring her because if you had told her earlier that she could have fixed that and it was a PowerPoint, I said, or just ask her to take that one slide out. All her other slides were totally valid and she did a fabulous job like bringing up things, and she showed the facts bus and just different points of the ingredients. And I said, I'm really upset about this, but the teacher kind of sheepishly was like, sorry, that's what I'm doing. So.
And you're so much more qualified than any of those teachers or anything else. I mean, that's the thing. Trolls are a little quiet right now because they, what can they do? You're qualified. Their normal thing is, where's your PhD? Where's your medical degree? Where's your, technology degree? Sorry.
I think Americans believe that, and I'm hoping people are waking up that just because you have the degree in that, like, it doesn't mean you're being told the truth.
Is there anything that would make any of you have a vaccine?
No.
Now that you know everything?
Never. I've taught them to run from the school if anybody comes at them. I'm like, literally run out the door.
Smash a window.
You guys, have you got, I wish I'd done self-defense class with my kids. I don't know, apparently it's really good. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're wearing a wooden cross. Billy would be so proud of you. He would be so proud. He goes and he's bought so many wooden crosses. It's unbelievable. I said to Marcella's coming back to the house, if you're not wearing a wooden cross, Billy will make me go and get you one.
Well, yeah, amazing.
Now, girls, in your dreams, what would you like to be when you are older? You can be anything you like. It's actually true, you can be anything you like in life. Don't ever let anyone tell you you can't be. What would you... It says the mother who just told her son, no, you will not be a DJ. Just saying. Okay, go.
Well, I've been getting these dreams that, like, God wants me to, like, run an orphanage and take care of children, because, like, I love, like, little kids. I love, like, playing with them. Whenever, like, I meet little kids, we always have, like, a special bond. So I've noticed, like, maybe God wants me to run an orphanage. So, like, that's what I want.
Run an orphanage. What a wonderful thing to want to do.
So
it's just
sweet.
that's
She's
so
like a baby
beautiful.
whisperer. She's amazing.
In this country, do you think?
I don't know. I'm still
I
not
hope
sure
so.
about that yet.
We'll
But
keep
yeah,
praying on that one.
I
That's a
hope so.
wonderful thing. Yes, I hope so
I
too.
want you in this country.
I want you here too. Run an orphanage. Well, maybe you'll end up running one of our autism centres. That's going to be an orphanage. You never know how it's going to be. But
Or
yes.
save babies from abortion. Be like, I'll take them. Don't kill them.
Oh, don't kill them.
Yes.
Oh, you are a beautiful human being. Thank you. What a wonderful thing. Right, who's next, eldest? I think that's
Yeah.
you. Wait, let's just get the cameras ready on you. Now, what would you like to be when you're older?
I think I'd want to be like a teacher.
Great job. Teacher's very important.
Yeah, I like to like be with kids too, but I also would like my own family. So something where I can be with have my own family and also bond with other kids would be.
Okay, and a teacher of anything?
Probably like second grade, like second or third grade of school.
Nice.
The younger one.
I think you'll be a very good teacher.
Tori.
Right, you girls, let me get the camera on. You just hang on a second. What would you two like to be?
I want to be a veterinarian.
Veterinarian, because you love animals. What's your favourite animal?
Otter.
An otter. Well, good for you, because otters don't get much representation in this
Yeah,
world,
they
I feel.
don't. I didn't know that.
That's a lovely thing. But I think you and Kent would get on very well.
Yes, you should meet Kent.
He would be very impressed with your love for otters. Great, wonderful job. And would you vaccinate your pets or animals? No, good for you. We need people like you. And hello, what would you like to be? And you don't need to answer. If you don't know, you don't know.
Soccer player?
Do you like playing soccer?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. Do you have a favourite team?
No.
Okay. If you
Then
go and
watch
speak to
it.
Toby, he'll tell you who you need to support.
Okay, that's good because he
He's a
she
soccer.
plays it, doesn't really watch it.
He's a soccer freak. Okay, Mummy, do carry on. Anything else you'd like to say? Your story's fascinating.
Oh, thanks.
It's so brave of you to come. You don't have to come talk to us about this, and we really appreciate it because it changes the world.
It does. I know you guys are doing such amazing things.
No,
so-
not us. You being here changes the world.
Yeah, no, but just sharing the stories, like
People are waking up. The system's cracking,
It really is.
and we're winning.
Yep.
Anybody got anything they want to say?
Anyone wanna share?
Speak nice and loud.
I try to tell my friends at school, like about vaccines and telling them like, don't take them. Like you should do your own research. And like the other day, I was talking to my friend about it because she questioned why I was so healthy. Because now we're like whole food, plant based.
You're plant-based what?
Like whole food, plant based.
I mean, Mummy, you've gone from being a pharmacist,
I know,
working
I'm a
for
hippie.
Big Pharma, basically, to being this
Like hippie.
organic,
Yeah, I know.
homeopathic hippie
I
that my
know.
mummy used to be.
I know. Totally. My sister,
I'm really proud of you.
I know. My sisters give me such crap for it. They're like,
Yeah, but look how-
they're like, you were always put, and I was so horrible. I was constantly telling my parents like, take this medicine. Like I just read about this new medicine, or take this, and I was like, I'm so wrong. Like now, just eat good food and get your
Don't
rest.
take any medicine. Eat this.
Now I'm like, watch Dr. Suzanne, watch her videos, like go online, get on YouTube. So, yeah. So now we're gonna teach Courtney all those things so she can advocate.
Well, thank you, and thank you for advocating for your age groups. There's a lot of people getting the HPV Gardasil,
I know at her age.
and I will not.
Yeah.
We cannot.
Nope. All right, Michaela, come on.
Oh
over.
yeah, now Michaela is your friend, isn't
Yeah,
she?
she's my friend.
Now, are you medically trained as well?
I am not.
You're just friend of
I am a
of
friend.
the pharmacist.
Yes. And this is Easton.
Oh.
Now, Easton. Now, what do you do for a living?
I am a nanny, or was.
Okay.
Now I'm just a mama, stay-at-home mama.
And
Her
is
husband's
this
in the
child?
military, so
Your husband's in the
Yeah.
military.
She's a
Yeah.
military wife.
Unfortunately.
She loves military wives.
Yes.
Hello.
Say hi.
So, is your child vaccinated or
He
not?
is not.
How old is he?
He is 7 months. He's
He
never
looks
been
older.
sick.
He's never been sick?
He's had not a single sniffle.
What about an ear infection?
No. He's very bouncy, happy, sleeps well, eats well.
We can't enter him in our study yet because he's not one. But when he gets to one, if you could let us know if you successfully got to one without ear infection or antibiotics, that would be we'd be most grateful. Now, what made you decide not to vaccinate?
I've always been interested in alternative health, and I started researching it for myself well before I even got pregnant, and I decided I wasn't gonna get vaccinated anymore. But then when I got pregnant, I really jumped on the gun, and I was like reading everything I could get my hands on. I watched all your videos. I watched Vaxxed. I watched The Greater Good. And I talked to my husband, and with all the info I had, I decided that it was best choice by far. And yeah, I never looked back. I never felt scared, or I was pressured, that's for sure, to vaccinate and to get vaccinated while pregnant. I tried.
Sit next to your friend.
Okay.
What do you think when you hear how healthy this baby is? I know you've seen a lot of these films of the unvaccinated. I know you're pleased for your friend.
I'm so happy for her. And I just
But
think,
what
like,
do you
oh,
think
the-
about that? Should have been your kids without the ear infections and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they were always sniffly nose. I mean, they were coughing. I mean, I had tissues everywhere and saline drops. I was constantly squirting their noses with saline drops because they were always sniffly. Always, we needed to go back to the doctor so many times for ear infections.
thank you.
And all those things. So it's like so amazing. And, when I see people now who are like, I'm pregnant, I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't vaccinate. Like,
I'm a pharmacist, and my advice to you is do not vaccinate. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
You can save a lot of babies. A lot of babies.
Yeah.
What am I going to say? You're healthy. I don't really say. You guys all look really healthy.
They do.
Really
We're
healthy.
so
So-
and they're like, we're so blessed, Mom, that they watch the stories and they're like, we're so lucky. And my husband, I made him watch Vaxxed with us when it was in the theater in New Hampshire a year and a half ago, and he just left in tears and said, we dodged a bullet. He's like, we didn't know, and like, we're so blessed.
So these parent stories that these are the people here, they're sending you loads of hearts, by the way. These people, parents with their stories, how much do you think that's affecting the general public?
I mean, I think if they end up watching them, I think it affects them a lot because they realize, like, that's exactly what happened to me.
You hear that, Peep? She's talking to you.
Yes, like, that's exactly what I went through, my kid ended up with all those things. It's like, and it was like me listening to the stories of hearing, and Taya, the one who had, like, the big head, she also had scoliosis, and again, like, oh, it's just normal.
No, I'm
And I'm
not
like, oh my
accepting that.
gosh.
The amount of scoliosis, particularly in our girls.
And especially she was my one most affected, so I'm like, oh my God. I mean, luckily, thank God it went away. But, I have a friend from North Carolina that said to me, oh, my daughter has scoliosis and they want to do surgery. And I'm like, went on one of the Vaxxed forums, was like, anybody give me information I can send to her. And, so I think the parent stories mean the world because people can see the people sitting in this, on the couch or in here and say, that was me, so.
And I'm so happy for you. You're unvaccinated, healthy boy.
And I tell everyone, I'm that annoying friend that's like, oh, you're pregnant? Have you seen Vaxxed?
Yeah.
Are you afraid that he may catch, chickenpox or measles or something?
No. In fact, he's been around a lot of sick people who say, I have a cold, I have strep throat, I have this and that, I don't want to touch the baby, and he's never caught anything.
Oh, and didn't your dad have
My
shingles?
dad just had shingles, my 65-year-old dad, and he was hugging him, touching him, nothing.
No, you see.
Yeah.
It's a big fear factor, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
it's
is a
such a
huge-
fear
yeah.
factor.
They
yeah.
brainwash us, but they underestimate our intelligence, and out we come. And guys, thanks to people like you coming and talking and telling your story, we are really, really smashing this out the water. Anytime you girls want to get involved, do some live broadcasting, let us know.
Yeah, Tori can do some live
Interview
stuff.
people your age group, that kind of thing, educate them, anything you can think of, just let us know.
When I tried to tell pharmacists, and a lot of my friends I went to pharmacy school with, they just don't believe it. They're like, that can't be true. And watch Vaxxed. I always say start out with watch Vaxxed. I'm like, that will explain to your mind of why that like the CDC corruption, but I'm like, it is true, because they're like this. They almost don't want to know, because if they work retail, they're like, we're pressured to give 500 flu shots a season, and so I think if they knew they were doing harm, like they almost don't want to know it. But tell them and say there's a lot of places to do research and start looking, you know. So
You are an amazing family and
Michaela.
friend, and yeah, all of you together. Absolutely wonderful. You girls are amazing as well, and you've got great, bright futures ahead of you.
yeah,
And you've all chosen great futures. I love it. I'm sure they'll change.
I know.
It's all good. It's all good. Okay, anything else anybody wants to say? This is your moment, or shall we come off?
I
We're
can't
good.
believe I'm in the Vaxxed.
I know, we're in the back.
Do you like the Vaxxed? But you guys can all sign it.
We gotta go sign
Yeah,
it.
we
Go
gotta
sign
sign
it.
it.
Make sure you get your number.
Okay, awesome.
All right, everybody saying
thank you.
goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, let's get a picture of Polly real quick.
Yeah.